If you choose to be in the tech industry, it is a very rapid-paced, very dynamic, very flexible industry. You can have crypto billionaires one day, and the next day the whole industry sort of falls on its face. This is quite common, by the way. It's the normal cycle of how tech works, and we always see the first craze where you have the early adopters, and then the sort of early mass market get on board, and you start to hear hints of this new solution to this problem, and then usually there's some kind of crash, and the few that remain standing are usually the ones that have done it at least in the right way, or who have done it whereby their product was actually built to solve a problem, and therefore they can resist the crashes that we see and that we've seen as patterns over the years. So I think keeping this in mind, if you have seen this happen a lot, you also learn to take a step back and not get too pulled into hypes because it's the usual, it's on its way up, it's going to crash, and that's where it becomes interesting, because the few remaining players are the ones you really want to talk to. I think earlier I was on stage and I was talking about something that's important to me. When you're building a tech product, I think I mentioned the guy Kawasaki quote, which was about changing the world. And he said, if you set out in the world to make money, you will fail and you won't change the world. But if you set out in the world to make meaning, you will change the world and you will make money. So I think, to address your point about my optimism, I actually think it has to do with a combination of just age and experience, and seeing the cyclical patterns and knowing where to just pause, take a deep breath, analyze. But overall, I would say the companies with the tech solutions that last for a very long time are usually the companies that were built with purpose. They were built with meaning. And because they were built that way, they actually ended up really helping people with a particular problem, and that's why they're still around. So, I don't know if it's optimism, but I think that with quite a few decades under my belt in the industry, I think you learn to see where there's opportunities, where certain solutions that are not being adopted by one country, they've maybe never even heard of it, can be brought over from another country. I think on the private sector, collaboration across borders is so important. And then you have maturity of markets, right? Like Latin America did not really have a massive e-commerce boom until everyone was forced to stay at home during the lockdown. And you could actually see, the share prices of Mercado Libre going up, and e-commerce platforms that largely were, doing okay, but not the explosion that you saw with the pandemic. So it's also interesting to take a step back sometimes and look at the maturity of different countries on certain subjects. So one country may be not so great on e-commerce, but maybe they excel on, I don't know, some other industry like med tech or something. And that's where the collaborations become really important, because you can actually help people with propping them up or helping them up or accelerating what their position is if you find another country that has solutions that another country doesn't have, or within the private sector. So there you go.